Hello everyone and welcome to the third devlog of my Simple Metroidvania game. In the last episode I talked a little about how I wanted to add a dash mechanic to the game, and I still want to, but I ran into a problem where my controller, every time I hit the dash button, it would jump. I actually ended up just shelving the idea for now, and I switched to what you see on screen, which is adding a grenade mechanic, but I did actually figure out what the problem was a little later. I'm going to share that just on the very small off chance there's another developer watching this that also has the same issue. So basically, it occurred to me at some point that the controller was just using keyboard and mouse inputs. The right trigger was functioning as the left mouse button and circle was acting as space, and I thought, that's oddly specific. That doesn't sound like some kind of weird crossed wire thing. That sounds almost, air quotes, intentional. Do you want to know what the issue was? I had Steam open in the background. Well, why would that matter, you might be asking yourself? It's because Steam has, I'm not actually sure the exact words, but Steam Input for Desktop, which basically lets you use your controller to, well, control the desktop. And after I disabled this feature, surprise, no more dash jump. Glad I figured it out kind of fast. I had to go cancel that PlayStation 5 controller I ordered. To be fair, I do still have stick drift issues, but yeah, you know what, that's a problem for another day. Anyway, yeah, so that is the issue. The reason I had Steam open is because I use it to listen to the Oblivion soundtrack while I'm working, which, I could just use the actual files, but no, it's Steam has a built-in media player, I'm gonna use it. Right, anyway, so what are we doing today? Today, we're working on a grenade mechanic. The initial plan was to just make it to where I could hit a button and it would toss a grenade and that grenade would kind of roll around, and that was mostly it. I was taking this one step at a time, so I didn't have plans to add the explosion or, actually calculate damage yet, because I didn't have anything that had damage to be calculated on it yet. Right, so it was relatively easy. The way I did the shooting, and this is probably not the best way to do it, but the way I did the shooting is that there are 3 different gun bullet spawn points around the character. One directly in front of the character, one slightly directly above them, a little bit offset, and then one that's diagonally in front of them. So all I really had to do was use the diagonally forward one and have that spawn the grenade. The grenade itself is just a circle with a rigid body and a circle collider on it. Once I wrote the script to just instantiate that circle and then hit the button, it was done. The first issue I ran into, though, is that the bullets that the character will fire, at least right now, are so big that they can collide with the grenade while they're on the ground, which will send the grenades hurtling at Mach 10,000 into the distance. Now, this could be used for some kind of cool, ranged grenade mechanic, but I didn't plan on that. And to be fair, the bullets would probably be made much smaller in the final product anyway, but it occurred to me that on the off chance, there's a grenade on a slightly elevated plane, I don't want this interaction to happen. So I started looking around for ways to ignore the collision. I thought I would have to write some long script, well, maybe not long, but some script that was if collider.tag is equal to grenade, ignore, right? Something like that. Not terribly complicated, but something that I was I didn't plan to do this. Which, to be fair, is how most of the things go. However, I learned that there is a little physics matrix thing in the Unity settings, and it has all of the different layers that you create or that are already there in a grid, in a matrix, and you can just disable them being able to interact with each other. So all I had to do was go to the one that had bullet and grenade and then just say don't collide with each other, and it works. So that was it. I'm sure some of you are well, of course, but the reason why this slightly excites me is because it potentially solves one of the other problems I have with the dash mechanic, which is the desire to collide with a wall, but not with an enemy while it's active. In theory, if I can dynamically access this matrix, or at the very least, dynamically set the layer that something is on while it's dashing, I should be able to just, change the player's layer to inactive or something, and have that always toggled to not collide with the enemy, but to also, of course, collide with a wall. That should solve that issue. It doesn't solve the whole, gravity issue, but that should also just be a gravity scaling is 0. I don't know. I'll figure that part out eventually. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Back to the grenade. Like I said, it was pretty simple to actually implement the, air quotes, physics part of it. And then I was hey, why not finally try my hand at some pixel art? Yeah, so I'm not very good at pixel art. I mean, I don't think it looks bad, but it's definitely like, wow, this guy has only ever opened Photoshop once. Down the line, I'm going to revisit this. I don't know how much I'll change the design, but I would like to animate the fire to actually just have a little bit of movement. I think it would just be a little nice touch. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this. I mean, it's not super way up there impressive, but it was fun to make and surprisingly easy, which, you know, is very welcome. There are a couple issues, like when you throw it, if you run underneath it, it'll kind of like glide along your head, which might not be an issue in the final product because the character is not going to be this perfect square, so I might be able to just wait a second on that one. It might just sort itself out just because. But other than that, I think it looks good. Next, I either want to go ahead and move on to adding damage to these things and then some kind of placeholder enemy that will just test if it takes damage, or maybe I'll add another weapon in. I haven't really decided yet. But either way, thank you everybody for watching, and I hope you're enjoying this simple Metroidvania journey with me.